Hey everyone, welcome to another Bros on the Phone podcast. I'm sitting here with Taylor Olson.
How's it going, Livingston?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm not doing too bad. Just hanging out. Watched a couple movies the last few weeks that I think we're going to discuss today.
Yeah, yes we are.
Should be pretty exciting. We didn't get to our podcast on Wednesday because of life, but we're back today, so it happens.
Life sucks. Plus, I'm leaving tomorrow on a trip, going to San Francisco, then going to Vegas. So
yeah, that sounds terrible.
Sounds like a worst time ever.
Yeah, glad I'm not doing that.
Yeah. But yeah, you went and saw Pacific Rim last weekend. I saw it.
That's right.
I saw it Friday. I think you saw it Saturday or something.
I don't remember. Maybe I did see it right after you. No, I think I saw it the same day.
I saw it Saturday. I was going to go see it Friday, but they weren't playing it in the small town that I live in. I had to go 2 towns over to go watch it. But whatever.
Yeah, I saw it Saturday as well. I think I saw it.
What was your initial thoughts?
Well, I'll back up for a second. I love the first film. I think in terms of like those kaiju monster movies,
yeah.
I think the first film is the best one. I think it's way better than Godzilla, the new one.
Oh yeah.
I think we discussed that on a podcast.
Well, they only share like 12 minutes of Godzilla total in the movie.
Yeah, and I mean the first Pacific Rim had so much action and it was so over the top, but it was entertaining. So I had pretty high standards for the second movie, and I guess I don't think it was not as good as the first one. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
I think the first half was really slow and kind of boring in some instances, but when they finally got to some of the action at the end, it was pretty good, but it just wasn't quite enough as the first. I don't know. I thought some of the twists were kind of interesting, but it wasn't like it didn't really feel very particularly like fleshed out in terms of the characters.
No, I agree with it.
Except for what's his name? Finn. John Boyega. I mean, he was pretty fleshed out as a character, but everyone else kind of just felt like the stereotypes or the kid versions of the first movie or something, if that made sense.
Yeah.
Like, of course, there's the Russian, there's the Chinese. It's like they're kind of stereotypes almost. But like even like the big twist in the movie, and I guess we'll, say it's spoilers. You think it's going to be that Chinese woman that runs the company. You think she's the bad guy, but right away I was like, she comes off as too much of an asshole to actually be the villain. It'd be too obvious.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of figured that out pretty quickly, but even still, it was entertaining. But my standards my expectations were a lot higher, I guess, than what we got.
Yeah.
Still, I hope they make another one.
Oh, I'm sure they might. I mean, I don't know what it's doing worldwide. Here, it's not doing too well.
Well, it did okay.
It did fine, but I mean, in terms of a big box office smash, it's not.
No.
Like right now, it's sitting at $157 million worldwide. Production budget of $150 million. So it has not made a profit yet because they don't ever put in. What do you call it?
But it probably will maybe end up making 350, 400. So it probably
it's possible. I mean
we'll see.
It wasn't nowhere near as good as the first one. I think it got like 45% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
And I think the first one got like almost 80.
Did it? I'm not sure.
It's a much better film. And, of course, at the very end, and this is a spoiler, but, they left it wide open for a new one.
Yeah, like they're going to go to the alien planet now, and the alien universe now, and do something about it.
But, it just was kind of a weak movie in comparison to the first one, and I think that's kind of the consensus for Pacific Rim. I did like, Charlie Day, and he came back along with Bern Gorman. The two doctors, so that was pretty cool. But I kind of wish they had the original cast kind of come back, but... Yeah.
Well, I guess Charlie Hunnam or whatever couldn't do it because he was shooting King Arthur.
Right, which I don't know if it would have been a better move, regardless.
Right, it was kind of odd that he wasn't in there, and they hardly even mentioned him at all. So it's not like he died off screen or anything. Like, he still exists in this universe somewhere, so maybe if they do a third one, he'll come back.
Maybe. It's just weird that the hero from the first one isn't in the second one, even though he exists in the world. And it's like you have your biggest gun, the guy who saved the world the first time, does not come back and do it again. You kind of wish that would happen. And then you had Scott Eastwood, which I don't know if he's ever going to be a big hit movie star.
Yeah.
He's always like these side characters, and he's where he's at, mostly because it's Clint Eastwood's kid.
Yeah.
And he's a good-looking guy. So I don't know. Maybe his acting chops will get a little better as time progresses. It happens. But I don't know. I don't know what else to really add to the Pacific Rim. It was entertaining, but at the same time, I'm not rushing back to go see it a second time.
Right. Yeah, me neither. But, oh well, it was all right. We saw another movie yesterday. I saw a movie yesterday. You saw it a couple days ago now.
I saw it opening night. Ready Player One.
Ready Player One. What are... You want to talk about your initial thoughts on this one first?
I enjoyed the hell out of the movie just because of all the Easter eggs. It had great pacing all the way through. It's a Spielberg movie, so it's going to be great just because he really hasn't made a bad movie since The Lost World. And I love The Lost World. I'm just talking in terms of reviews.
Yeah.
It got like a rotten at like 50-something%. I'm not sure. I'm not going to look it up. But it's in the 50s, and I still enjoyed the hell out of that movie. And ever since then, he's made really great reviewed films. And I enjoy. It just seems like he had a really great time. It's kind of like a callback to how he used to be back in the 80s and 90s, making these big tentpole films that bring moviegoers into the cinemas. And lately, he's been doing historical dramas like Lincoln or The Post, which was his recent one that came out this past year. But it's like he's back to form of how he used to be with like Jurassic Park and E.T. and things like that. And I loved this movie. I thought it was a great movie. I wanted to watch it again just because I know I didn't catch every Easter egg that was in there. I mean, there were so many Easter eggs.
I think the Easter eggs are cool. That doesn't mean it's a good movie.
No, I'm not saying it's a great movie for that, but I think I enjoyed the movie. Plus, I'm a big fan of the book, and I went into it already a big fan of the story to begin with. And it did a really good job keeping the heart of the book in the film, but there's a lot that changed. But we can get into that a little. What did you think of it?
I haven't read the book. I did like it overall. It's very. I mean, because it takes place in a video game world, you almost like ignore the fact that it's so over the top with the animation and stuff because it's supposed to be a video game, so that's the way it is. It is funny to see a lot of the video game characters and other movie characters just like running around and stuff in this world. I mean, I guess we'll just go right into the spoilers, but I really like at the very end when he turned into Mechagodzilla, I thought that was pretty great.
That was in the book. I was surprised they put that in there.
That was in the book? Yeah,
that was in the book. Iron Giant was actually just a line in the book. They were talking about like getting, what was it, Voltron?
Voltron?
Yeah, he's in the book as well. But Iron Giant was supposed to be like another. What the heck are they call those robots in like Japanese anime?
I don't know.
They have a word for them, and they use it in the book, and they use it in the movie a couple of times too. But they used a different robot that probably wouldn't have been as familiar to the movie-going audience.
Well, they used Gundam at the end.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, Gundam. Anyway, but they used Iron Giant instead of what they used in the book, and I can't remember what they used in the book. It was something from Japanese anime, and I'm glad they did change that because I enjoyed watching the Iron Giant. Did you catch the very end where he's going into
when he gives a thumbs up? Yeah.
I'm like, T2.
Yeah.
My dad's like, what? I went and saw it with my dad, and he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, that's Terminator 2 with a thumbs up. Oh,
you didn't get it?
You didn't get it. But what was just some of your favorite Easter eggs they had in there?
Easter eggs. Well, I guess, I remember like I liked the Zemeckis Cube. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
How they did that. The Holy Hand Grenade is funny. Even when they're walking around, like looking to buy stuff, I think I saw something for like Borderlands. They mentioned Borderlands, like they just had like a shop called Borderlands something, like whatever. There was characters from like Overwatch, which is a game I haven't really played much of. They mentioned like, even Minecraft at the very beginning. Mm-hmm. A lot of it had to do with video games, I guess. I'm trying to think. Like you have the Halo Spartans. In it, you had Gears of War, like the chainsaw gun type of thing.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Like these are games I haven't played in a long time, but I remember it. And it was kind of funny to see. I think it was kind of cool how they threw it back really far with with the old Atari games, Adventure, which actually is a game that I've never played, but I remember hearing about it, like where they talked about, this guy put his name in the game. I mean, I remember reading about this years ago, and it was like such like a huge thing when the Atari came out. Not a huge thing, but like for some of those hardcore gamers at that time, they thought, look, you can do this and find this guy's name and stuff, and it's like, it was the first Easter egg, which is kind of interesting. I forget. I don't even remember what his name is.
No, they have that in the book too. I can't remember if it was Adventure or not, but the very last level, basically, he plays an Atari. And it was funny, too, because my dad and I are sitting there watching, and he's like, it's an Atari, because my dad owned one.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's the pad with the numbered pad and everything like that. And I don't know, just sitting there with my dad watching it and being nostalgic about it was just awesome to me.
Yeah.
And
it is one that I probably will have to see again, because it just kind of it's an interesting kind of view of the future, I think, in some ways too. Like, where is technology kind of going? And it doesn't seem unrealistic in a way.
No, it's very real. Like it could be a very big possibility that might happen.
I mean, especially like 2045. That's 28 years from now, 27 years from now. I think we'll be there to that technology before that, because we have headsets and stuff. You have Oculus Rift and everything, and even like really high end ones, but they're not near to that level yet.
One thing I liked about it was, I thought it was pretty interesting, and I had fun with it when they said Chucky, like they said, like release it, and that guy was like fucking Chucky. Excuse my language, but I love that when he just went there and just annihilated everybody, and he just showed up.
that was pretty good. I liked their reference to The Shining too, and they reenacted some of those shots pretty well.
Yeah,
and even when they went in there, it started to look like that old film almost in a way.
Yeah, I mean,
it just had that kind of grain to it.
I think I mentioned that to you after I watched it. I said there's a thing where they go into a movie, and they do that in the book too, but they use a different movie. They used War Games.
Yeah,
where they had to reenact the entire movie basically in order to complete the mission.
Yeah,
and of course you couldn't do that if you went directly, because there's a lot of people online talking about that it didn't go off the book and completely. And I said, and they couldn't. If you went off the book, the only way you can do it is if you made it like an 8-hour long movie, because there's so much information in the book.
Yeah,
you just couldn't fit it in this time frame. But they kind of dumbed down the character of Ben Mendelsohn somewhat. I'm not really dumbed down, but they just changed him a bit. He was more dark and scary in the book than he was. Yeah. In this one, he was kind of aloof.
Yeah,
in some places, but but it was he did a good job. And I think Mark Rylance was the best character in this entire film.
Yeah,
as Holiday, just because he was basically playing Garth, if you think about it.
Yeah, I guess so.
But yeah, it was an enjoyable movie for sure. I'm definitely going to go check it out again.
And just to throw it out there, it is my number 3 movie for our movie picks box office thing. And let me see, I think right now it's tracking to between like 50 and 55.
That's for the 4-day.
Is it for the 4-day?
Yeah.
Well, no, yeah, I guess so. We'll see what happens though.
Yeah, I'm hoping it does a whole lot better. They're talking about doing another book. I think he's getting ready to write it, and if that's the case, I'm sure it's going to do great overseas box office wise.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping it's a success, just because I want to see a sequel to this. I want to continue the story and see how they're going to progress with that. If they're going to make another book, they're going to make another movie.
Yeah. Dunkirk, that's what he was in. I couldn't remember it when I was watching it.
Who? Mark Rylance?
Yeah. And I'm like, what was he just? He was just in something I just saw recently. Even like until the end, I couldn't, like T.J. Miller as IROC.
Yeah.
I'm like watching it. I'm like, I know that voice. Like, I'm trying to put the face to it, and I had the face to it, but I couldn't get the name. And I'm like, who is that?
I'm really happy they didn't show who he was too.
I know. Yeah.
He's one of those gamers that you hate, like in real life, where he just knows everything and he's like level 99. He's just so into what he does.
He's like, I've been playing for 10 years.
But it was great. And of course they utilized him differently from the book. In the book, he's basically an asshole in the book, but he's not working for the bad guys. So they changed that up. And then the woman in there, Finale, that's a new character altogether.
Huh.
So, and I think they should have just. I think they should have just kept it with Benda Mendelsohn's character and just kind of got rid of her altogether. But that's just my preference.
Yeah.
Because in the book he was very. I mean, he would kill. There's people that died in the book that didn't die in the movie. But I think they had to do that because it was a Spielberg fun family film, and if you went with what the book was doing, it would have been a whole lot darker than what came out. But. I mean, but overall...
Now I'll have to read the book.
Yeah, you must read it just because...
I must read it?
You must. It's I mean, it's my favorite book. I just read it like 3 weeks ago, and I'm already putting it at the top of my list of favorite book of all time.
Favorite book of all time, huh?
And I don't know what my favorite book of all time was before that, just because I'm not the biggest book reader. So it's just... I read a lot of stuff online and things like that. I do a lot of history stuff, but when it comes to reading fiction, I prefer watching it on a big screen than reading it on pages.
Yeah.
But that's just my thought. And then a lot of people were talking about John Williams not doing the music. They were kind of complaining.
Was it Alan Silvestri?
It was Alan Silvestri.
I knew it was Alan Silvestri when I was listening to it. I was like, this sounds exactly like Alan Silvestri.
I feel like he was a better choice in the end.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have been interested to see what John Williams would have brought to the table. But I think Alan Silvestri having the DeLorean in there, plus it was very techno, in certain places. And I don't think John Williams would have went that direction.
Yeah, that's true about the DeLorean. Is that it makes me want to have one again, but they're so expensive and they're not really practical.
No, they only made what I can't remember what was the number.
They've got about I think it made like 7,000 or 8,000.
Yeah, they didn't make too many of those. I mean, I think they sold all of them just because they're a collector's item now. But
yeah, but I mean, if you want to buy one now, it's going to cost you like minimum like 25-30 grand.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily in like the greatest condition. Like it might be running, but it won't be like, you could spend 40-50 grand on one that's in decent condition. It's ridiculous, but that's, because they're rare and because of Back to the Future.
Yeah, and there was a documentary on, I think Netflix. I can't remember what it's called. It's a Back to the Future documentary on the cars, basically.
Uh-huh.
And they basically did a doc. The doc was all about these guys that would collect these DeLoreans, and one of them had a DeLorean he had all 3 DeLoreans from all 3 films, and he actually bought 3 DeLoreans, turned one into the original one that you see in the first movie, and then he had one that had the upgrades from the second one. Of course, it didn't hover, but I mean everything else was there, and then he had one that was the one from Part 3 with the white side tires and, things like that. But, I mean, he just was a massive fan, and he bought all 3 cars, which is great, but I don't think I'd do that.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of work. It'd be expensive, too.
Yeah.
But, do what you want, I guess.
And the budget of this film was $175 million. That's.
I guess we'll see how it does.
I'm sure it'll make money. Spielberg movies, it's strange here lately. He doesn't have like these big box office weekends like he used to back in the day, breaking records like Jurassic Park did. But his movies seem to have a great word of mouth, and they keep making money. And so I think this is probably going to be one of those kind of films, and hopefully it keeps going. But then you got Rampage coming up in a couple weeks, and then not too long after that, you got, I think the week after, you have Avengers. Infinity War, so...
Oh, yeah, it's coming up quick. So hopefully, I guess we'll see how it does.
Yeah, so, I mean, but it'll make its money back for sure. I just want it to be a bigger hit than what people are predicting currently.
I mean, 50 to 55, I think it was, I read, for the 4-day or whatever.
Yeah. But I think that I wish that was the number for the 3-day. I wanted to just blow people's minds, but we'll see.
I think also with this movie, like, you and I can appreciate it because there's so many Easter eggs, and I guess there are a lot of other, film and video game nerds, but it's not like you'd have to kind of understand some of that stuff to appreciate it, which hopefully most people do, but I'm not sure, internationally how well it'll do because of that.
Yeah.
They might not get a lot of the references.
I think they do have a lot of references for people of all ages, depending on. I mean, like for me, I'm movies, and I think you got a lot of. you probably had more of a kick coming out of the video game aspect of the Easter eggs they had in the film.
Yeah, except for the DeLorean. That was my favorite.
Yeah. I mean, but when I was sitting there and, like, the T-Rex showed up from Jurassic Park in one of the things, and then you had King Kong from the 30s. I mean, that's the design they used for it. When he popped up, that was great. I loved it when Goro showed up.
Yeah, that's right.
I was like,
he sounded just like him, too.
Yeah, I was like, that's great. But I'm sitting there trying to think of all the Easter, because you showed me one that had Jack Slater 4 in the background, but that was in the trailer. But just seeing that, I actually saw that in the movie. I'm like, hey, there it is.
Yeah, so did I. It's during the race.
Yeah, and that was one thing too. They didn't have the race in the book. It was something completely different. But I mean, again, you have to kind of throw that because it wasn't as I don't think it would have been exciting if they used what they had in the book.
Yeah,
in the book, it was they had the first level to get the key. You had to basically play Joust, the old. What was it, Atari? I think that was an Atari game.
I think it's Williams.
Was it?
Joust is a Williams arcade game. Yeah, let me see.
But they played. I know they played it.
Williams.
Okay, but they played it there. They had to play against a character that was in the book. It was a character that was like I can't remember if he was. I think he was like a skeleton, and he was like armored up and everything like that. So if you could just imagine an armored-up skeleton playing on a cabinet next to another guy on a cabinet.
Yeah.
And then whoever won the game ends up, getting the key, or just losing and having to start over. But that wouldn't have been exciting to see on screen compared to, say, a car race.
Right. But, yeah.
But yeah, and a lot of people kept
more action-based.
Do what?
You got to adapt it to make it more action-based.
Yeah. And then they had. A lot of people kept saying the Tron bike at the very beginning with the race, and that was Akira.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about this movie other than go see it.
they mentioned Robotron a few times, and then at the very end of the movie, he has one in a Robotron cabinet in his apartment or whatever.
Oh, yeah, just some of the stuff that was on the walls, too, like... re-elect Goldie Wilson. I don't know if you caught that. That was
I didn't see it, but I heard it was in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was hanging up on the wall. It was next to like a bunch of posters. I seen like a Mad Max poster. I mean, they just in that one room. If I can just hit pause and just look at what's on the walls.
Yeah.
It's basically just a nerdgasm of a movie.
It really is. Yeah. Robotron was. My dad would tell me the stories when he would go to like the arcade and play Robotron. He would be 21 years old, my early 20s at this time, but he's like, you could play on one quarter for like 3-4 hours. I can't play for 5 minutes on one quarter, so I don't know. He was much better than I was at that game.
Yeah.
But we had one probably, I don't know, growing up maybe over 15 years ago now. Maybe like in 99, 2000, he bought one, and we just had it in our basement. We'd play sometimes, and I was still never very good at it, but it was pretty fun. It eventually broke. We sold it back.
Yeah, I kind of miss those days where you can just walk into an arcade and play whatever.
They don't really exist anymore. There's very few.
I mean, a lot of my fond memories of being a child was going into an arcade, playing like Mortal Kombat or something like that back in the mid '90s.
Yeah,
like going the place I went, it was an arcade, and you can go and do like go-karts. I don't even see go-karts hardly.
Go-karts. I don't remember the place I went to that had go-karts. Yeah,
but
it's been a while.
Yeah, it sucks growing up.
Yeah, being an adult's terrible.
It's the worst.
Well,
I just want to watch movies, or I wish they had an oasis. I can escape the hell of life. I'm not saying life is terrible, but you know what I mean. It's just sometimes it just sucks.
Sure, yeah.
Paying bills, this and that. So go see Ready Player One for 2 hours and 18 minutes to escape the hell that is life.
Yeah, what a great way to end this podcast. Yeah, do that.
Well, it's better than, say, I don't know, going to Vegas and San Francisco for a week.
That's true, I guess, if you want to say that.
I guess. I don't know. But yeah, those are our thoughts on Ready Player One. So
yeah, let us know what you think in the comment section below or wherever else.
Yeah. Sounds good. And then I guess next week I want to bring my stuff, and I'll possibly be doing the podcast from another state. So that should be interesting.
Should be interesting, yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
But all right, man. It was good chit chatting. We'll do it
again. All right,
again.
yeah. I'll talk to you soon then.
All right, see ya.
See ya.